and 5 weeks, I guess, to go into regular season. The Browns are hanging on by a thread at 6-6, and the Bills are now 7-6, and they're going to Tampa next to play the Buccaneers. I mean, you look at teams that are disappointing. We all thought that the Chiefs were a mess. Now they've won 7 straight or whatever. It looks like the Chiefs and the Patriots in the AFC right now. And nobody even wants to talk about the Cardinals. They're 10-2. Cardinals. Just weird, man. It's the NFL. My Twitter feed, personal Twitter feed, is at Thom Abraham Show, where you can see me argue with people about the Group of 5 versus the Power 5. Some guys get in there and they start talking. I don't want to say clowns. People are passionate about their college football. I get that. Well, look at Ohio State's schedule. They struggled with Tulsa more than they did Penn State. Tulsa, Penn State. I mean, come on. How many times have I said it? You get a Power 5 conference team playing Tulsa or some other Group of 5 team coming in, you can't get those kids motivated for that game. It's very, very difficult. It's like a JV game for them. I'm sorry. It's a fact of life. When Ohio State is playing Penn State or Wisconsin or Iowa or Michigan or Michigan State, they know what that is on the line. When they're playing Tulsa, they got to try and stay focused so they don't screw it up and still pull away and beat it by 20 with their eyes closed. Stop using a random game as the rule of how it is in the Group of 5 in the Power 5. Michigan's schedule was the 27th most difficult schedule in the country. Georgia's schedule was the number 20th most difficult schedule in the country. Alabama's schedule was number 4. 4. Cincinnati's was 87. 87. Stop. Hell, Notre Dame's was 52 because the teams that are usually good on their schedule were not very good. Ohio State's was 38. Penn State's schedule was number 9. Auburn's schedule was number 2 in the entire country. Number 2. Arkansas' schedule was number 1. Arkansas, Auburn, Indiana, Alabama, Tennessee. Those are your top 5 schedules. Nebraska. You wonder why they kept Scott Frost. Hell, LSU's schedule was number 8. And let me see. Let me get down here. And Cincinnati is between Miami of Ohio and Louisiana Tech. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Get the hell out of here with that. I couldn't even get through how to have you communicate with the show. You go on to Twitter and you could see these battles playing out. I don't even know why I engage. I don't know why I engage. One guy told me it's obvious. Why do you misspell your name? He says. Why do you misspell your name? I bet when you were in high school you got beat up a lot. I never got beat up in my life, high school or otherwise. So I said, well, if you must know, when I was a little kid, there was a safety for the Michigan Wolverines by the name of Tom Darden, who was the number 1 draft pick of the Cleveland Browns. I don't know the year. You do the research. Some year he was the number 1, like 1970 or 71, or I was like 8 or 9, whatever I was. And he was the number 1 draft pick of the Cleveland Browns, Tom Darden. And my beloved Browns drafted him, and he had my name, and he spelled it Thom. And I was like, well, that makes sense. Why wouldn't you, Thomas, Thomas, why wouldn't you go from Thomas to Tom? Do you lose the H? I can see you lose the AS. Why do you lose the H? It made no sense to me at 8 years old. So I said to my mama, I want to spell my name like Tom Darden, Thom. And then I found a lot of other people did. Anyway, I explained it to him. He's like, I didn't watch your life story. I bet you got beat up on it. And I said, no, I never got beat up in high school. okay? Light heavyweight wrestlers and nose tackles just don't usually get beat up in high school. No, I bet 100% of the time you got beat up in high school. Okay, whatever. Why do I engage these people? Because I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. I didn't get beat up in high school, but I am an idiot. Boy, that thing went off the rails in a hurry, didn't it? I didn't even get to tell you that we're on the Twitch and the Facebook at 97.7 ESPN, where you can watch the show. And on YouTube at 97.7 ESPN, The Zone, where you can like and subscribe. And now you can go to 97.7ESPN.com and get links to all of that stuff. And how you can get our app. Our app brought to you by TOC. And there you could find links to Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4, our alternate streaming channels for more great programming. Remember, we have Alabama. We have UAH basketball. We have the Havoc. We have select high school basketball action. We've got the Huntsville Classic will be on here. And we're going to bring you 20 bowl games. And we bring you the college football playoffs games. Not only the Alabama-Cincinnati game, but yes, we have the Michigan-Georgia game as well. And we have the national championship game, whether Alabama's in it or not. So basically, that's why I say we are your home for everything. Coming up in a few minutes, David Moulton of the SEC on CBS and the NFL on Fox will join us. We'll get his thoughts on the Final Four, playoff expansion, and the stunning SEC championship game that David worked alongside Gary Danielson for CBS. At the top of the 11, Scott Ramsay, Executive Director of the Nashville Sports Council, will join us to discuss how the sausage is made, i.e., exactly what went into the selection of Tennessee and Purdue for the Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. What the hell is Trans-Perfect? Anyway, he'll tell us. And he'll tell us everything that's going on around that game. Purdue, I think it's their second time in. Didn't Purdue get their knobs whaled by Auburn a few years ago? Wasn't that the game that Auburn hung a 60-burger on them in the Music City Bowl? And I think for Tennessee, this is number 3 for Tennessee, I believe. It was like Steve Spurrier said, you can't spell Music City Bowl without UT. No, he said you can't spell citrus, I think, without UT. I don't know. It was a great line. So we have finalists for this year's Bryce Young Heisman ceremony. And look, this is based on votes that have already been calculated, okay? This isn't based on, like, hey, let's invite that, This is based on the actual vote. They invited the guys, allegedly, that are the top 4 vote getters so far. And the votes are in. They've been calculated. So quarterbacks Kenny Pickett and C.J. Stroud will be there, along with Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. Now, look, I'm on record that Hutchinson should be there. But Hutchinson should be opening the door for Will Anderson when he gets there. I mean, just look at the numbers. Will Anderson, 91 tackles. Aiden Hutchinson, 58. And Will Anderson had 33 more tackles. Sacks. Will Anderson leads the nation with 15 and a half sacks. Aiden Hutchinson is second with 14 sacks. Tackles for loss. Will Anderson leads the nation in tackles for loss. This is outside of the sacks. With 32 and a half times he tackled a dude behind the line of scrimmage. Aiden Hutchinson has 15 of those, less than half. He's 23rd in the nation in tackles for loss. What the hell else do you vote on? Aiden Hutchinson's a good-looking kid. Will Anderson's a good-looking kid. I mean, what are we voting on? Aiden Hutchinson's daddy was an All-American. What's amazing is the similarities between Aiden Hutchinson, his father, and the Bosa boys, Joey and Nick, and their daddy. Remember, their daddy was an All-American as well at Ohio State. I think all of them guys wore 97 as well. What's up with the 97? What a great number. You had Chris Hutchinson back in the day wearing 97 for Michigan. I say back in the day. It was like, I don't know, in the 90s, mid to late 90s, something like that. He becomes a doctor. He becomes a OBGYN, and he actually delivers the birth of his son. When Aiden Hutchinson came out, he had a big old noggin on him, big melon on him, and he weighed over 11 pounds. Daddy's like, yeah, got me another defensive end. Look, he should be there, but Will Anderson should be there. Okay? On what planet do you invite Aiden Hutchinson and not Will Anderson? Now, maybe the voters were taking Young over Anderson on Alabama. You know, maybe you don't put Young and Anderson on your ballot because they're both to Alabama. But really, as great as Young is, I mean, can we make the case that he is not even the best player on his own team? Seriously? We could make the case that he's not even the best player on his own team, and he's great. He's absolutely great. 72, was that when Tom Darden? I was 11. I was 11 years old when Tom Darden was drafted by the Browns, 1972. So, Young is going to win the Heisman Trophy as a sophomore, just like Tim Tebow did. And then there'll be speculation as to whether or not he could become just the second person to win two, like Archie Griffin did for Ohio State back in the 70s. Remember, Tim Tebow won it as a sophomore in 2007. Then in his junior year, he actually got more first-place votes than Sam Bradford. And it wasn't close. He got several more first-place votes than Sam Bradford. But Bradford had over 100 more second-place votes. The voters either voted for Tim Tebow 1 or 3. Whereas with Bradford, they voted for him 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Tebow, they voted 1-3, 1-3. Tebow had like 100 less second-place votes than Bradford. He had more first-place votes. And Bradford won the Heisman. And you know who was second? Colt McCoy. In Tebow's junior year. And then Tebow comes back for his senior year. Remember the great speech coming back for his senior year. And he finishes 5th in the Heisman. Behind Mark Ingram, Toby Gebhardt. What the hell ever happened to Toby Gebhardt? Whatever happened to that guy? Did he go on to play for the Vikings for a minute or something? I don't even know what he did. And Colt McCoy was 3rd. You know who 4th was? And Ndamukong Suh finished ahead of Tim Tebow in Tebow's senior year. So for Alabama, it's going to be back-to-back Heismans with Devontae Smith last year, and it'll be the 4th all-time with all 4 Heismans coming in the last 12 years. And by the way, Dan Orlovsky says that Bryce Young will be the number 1 overall pick if he were able to enter the draft this season. I want to talk about that a little bit. In that little glass booth over there with the slanted roof, playing the Platters That Matter and the Stacks of Wax and taking care of the phones and keeping us on the air. It's my boy, Coach Chris.
Who in the blue hell are you? What is your name? It doesn't matter what your name is.
I'm the producer of this show. If I didn't step up, you're nowhere. I put this thing together out of spit and polish.
I think this is one of the traits of a really good producer. Keep the talent happy.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Now, Tom. Hey, Tom.
Testosterone high today. Testosterone, whatever the it is.
It really doesn't matter what you think. It really doesn't matter what you say.
Any of you play sports?
Grizz, did you have Mac Jones under 20 yards passing yesterday in a prop bet or something like that?
Yeah, no, definitely. No,
Oh, yeah.
I definitely had that. No, yeah, that was an insane game. I mean, you couldn't tell.
2 for 3 for 19 yards.
When the game
Just 2 for 3.
when the game was live, I love TV because when the game's live, you can't tell how bad it is. And then they show you that shot of the player or whatever, and it just absolutely looks miserable out there. I
kept
hate
showing
that kind
a
of
shot
cold.
there was 2 hours before the game, that shot with the snow coming in over the stadium, and it kept showing that same shot, and it was like, it's not snowing anymore, you know. You don't realize that it's not snowing anymore, but it was. You're right. You cannot tell.
Mac Jones was wearing like a scuba suit. I mean, it was ridiculous to be honest with you.
Well, the wind chill was like in the 20s.
It was just absolutely. It just looks absolutely horrible, and I think it was just awesome to be able to win a game where you ran the ball 46 times in the game.
And you know what was sweet about it too? It was old school, man. It was old school running. They were not running a lot of zone. They ran base. I mean, if you looked at it and looked at the end zone shots that they were showing of it, they were taking their center. They were blocking back on the center and trapping. They ran inside traps. They ran base. They would block down on the front side, down, kick. I mean, it was old school. And they were doing it, that offensive line, 2 tight ends. They had one dude, 76 or 77, whatever he was. They run more plays with 6 offensive linemen than any team in the NFL, 52% of the time. Now they probably even went up. But they had one dude that had to report as an eligible receiver every single play. Every single play he had to come in and do the thing with his arms like this, you know.
Gotta look out for him. Get him on an out route.
Yeah, he had to report as an eligible receiver. And they were going against a 10-man front. And that's why Damian Harris popped that one, because it was like all or nothing if you blocked the front. But you know what I'm talking about? They did base blocking, where it was like guard down, tackle down, kick, pull the backside guard in the tight end, kick, weed out the hole, block down with a heavy wide receiver. They were putting at number 1, I think it was that wide receiver. They would put him on the edge, and they would block down with him, down with the tackle on the second level, down with the guard on the 3 technique, and then they would pull, the backside guard, and they would kick it, or they would fan the hole, or whatever, terminology that you want to use. It was beautiful football. I mean, it was like watching the service academy. It was like watching Army run the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
In the NFL.
And I would have expected that more out of the Bills. Your quarterback's more athletic. Your quarterback's more able to run. They only ran him like 6 times, and there was like at least 2 times where his running was a scramble because he had to get out of the pocket because he was getting pressured. Yeah. So I expected Allen to run a little bit more in that game because, I mean, they really didn't even run Devin Singletary very, very much. They ran him 10 times. I mean, it was the Bills were weird. They threw it 30 times in a windstorm. I mean, it just didn't make sense.
He didn't throw it terribly.
Well, because he can throw it. He can throw it hard, and he can throw it through the wind. And so, what my thing is if I was a quarterback, I would always want the wind to my back.
Yeah.
So that when the wind is to my back, at least that I can put too much, put too little. Doesn't matter what I'm going to do. If I'm throwing it into the wind, you never know. That thing could get batted down by the wind trying to throw an out route. So, and there were some really bad out routes trying to be thrown in this wind, and it was just like, throw slants, throw drags underneath. Like, what are you doing? Like, throw to the back, throw to the running back out of the backfield.
Well, the running back out of the backfield, you got to float that a little bit.
Yeah.
I like what he was doing in terms of throwing the ball into the wind was kind of quartering. It wasn't dead downwind. It was kind of quartering, so he would throw it. But I thought that Josh Allen threw it pretty good. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even look. What was his final numbers? Because it seemed like he was able to throw it a little bit. All right.
I just had it up. He was like 15 of 30 for 145 yards and a touchdown, I think it was. But I mean,
that's a normal day for
Mac Jones.
No, not for Mac. That's a normal day for Lamar Jackson or something.
Right.
50%.
Some that would naturally run. But to go back to kind of talk about the Heisman list and everything like that, the Heisman finalist. I think a lot of this year, the reason why you don't see Will Anderson maybe on there is because maybe last year you had a double dose of Alabama in there, and you had Najee Harris right there at 5. So could realistically see
Will Anderson's going to be 5th.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I heard them talk about that this morning. Will Anderson's more than likely going to be 5th, and I mean, you just think that maybe it's just it's Alabama fatigue. Like even
no, but it's not.
Even in the Heisman, it seems like the last few years.
Yeah, on the voters. Yeah, it's strictly. This is strictly a result. They don't arbitrarily invite guys to New York. It's based on what their votes are.
Right.
What their votes are that they got. So and who knows? Maybe a guy turns it down or something like that at some point in time. I do wonder if people who were voting for Bryce Young did not want to put another Alabama player. Remember, there are regional votes all over the place. So let's say everybody in the Southeast was voting for Bryce Young. They don't want to put a second Alabama player on there and split that vote. Maybe take votes away from Bryce. I don't know.
Well, that was like last year. You could easily say Mac Jones could have been a Heisman favorite or could have won the Heisman, but Devontae Smith's right there. And then you had Najee Harris.
Where did Mac finish? Didn't Mac finish like third or something like that?
Third, I think, yeah.
They were right there. I think it's amazing that Alabama's had 4 Heisman Trophy winners in 12 years. I mean, that's the thing that, and
didn't have any.
They had never had
none before 2009.
They've never had one. Now they got 4. Into Saban. It's just another thing for Saban. It's crazy. All right, let's get a break. And can you imagine, in a matter of 48 hours, we saw Nick Saban and Bill Belichick both show again why they're the greatest ever. Ever. All right, coming up is David Moulton. He's next, right here on the Thom Abraham Show, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Heads up, sports bettors. Right now you can try VSiN All Access free for 30 days with no credit card required. Visit vsin.com/free month to sign up now.
Only 3 games tonight in the NBA. The Brooklyn Nets a 2.5-point road favorite at the Dallas Mavericks. The Spurs getting 2.5 at home against the Knicks. And the Lakers and Celtics will meet at the Staples Center, LA, a 2.5-point home favorite. This Saturday in New Jersey, it's the 122nd edition of the Army-Navy game. The Black Knights have won 4 out of the last 5 after Navy had won 14 in a row. Army is 7.5-point favorite on a neutral field. The over-under 34. Auburn will face Houston in the Birmingham Bowl December 28th. This week, the Tigers open as a 3-point favorite. Alabama and Cincinnati in the college football playoff. The Crimson Tide a 13.5-point favorite. I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Looking for a great deal? Well, I've got one for you. Thom Abraham here for Valley Equipment Rental. And at Valley Equipment, if you rent after 3 on a Friday or on a Saturday morning, you're not due back until Monday morning. So basically, you're getting the entire weekend for the price of one day. And if you're in the service or are a vet, they'll knock another 10% off. Valley Equipment is locally owned and involved in our community through charities and even supporting local teams. And soon, they'll have a second location to handle even more equipment. Stay tuned for info on where that will be and when it will open.
Everybody knows the fun begins when you get to the End Zone, where you can enjoy half-price apps every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, half-price burgers every Tuesday, plus late-night pizza specials and a spectacular menu that includes jumbo wings, half-pound burgers, Tex-Mex, and an incredible selection of craft beer, and plenty of big-screen TVs. It's all happening at the End Zone, 1851 University Drive, 2030 Cecil Ashburn at Jones Valley Station, and coming in early 2022, Mid-City End Zone at 1115 McMurtry next to the Target Shopping Center.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
We love our pets, and when we need boarding or vet services, we want the best. That's why we chose Paradise Pet Resort and Spa. Everything our pets needed, all in one place. Boarding for both dogs and cats. Doggy daycare, grooming and spa services, web cameras, and top-notch vet care, too. It's a true Paradise Pet Resort for your furry friends, serving all of North Alabama. Find out everything you need to know and book services online at ParadisePetResortandSpa.com. Located in Madison, just off 565 at Wall Triana, behind Cracker Barrel.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny sky this afternoon. It is going to be on the chillier end of the spectrum. Temperatures hanging out in the upper 40s and lower 50s. An increase in cloud cover as we head into the overnight. A couple of different models are trying to bring a couple of light rain showers into the Tennessee Valley as we head into the early part of Wednesday morning. Right now, it does look like the vast majority of us would probably end up staying dry. Partly sunny sky once again for your Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures are going to begin to climb just a little bit, hanging out in the mid-50s, dropping into the upper 30s, lower 40s through the overnight. Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Chuck Oliver. Listen to me coming up today at noon. Now back to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Yes, Chuck, we will listen. Segment of the show is brought to you by North Alabama Mortgage, serving all of Alabama, Florida, and Tennessee. They should call it SEC Mortgage. Going to do that. Mix in Georgia, too. They do conventional, VA, FHA, USDA loans. You never know. Nick Saban may want to refinance the Mercedes-Benz Stadium because it's his house. That's not funny? I thought it was a little bit funny. I mean, I'm looking right at Grizz through the little glass window over there, and he didn't even smile. Oh, there. Got a little laugh out of him. You get cash out refinances.
Sorry, my bad.
Are available. Home renos, college expenses, wedding expense, whatever it is that you have. Yeah, you can get it done with North Alabama. Go to NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com. So yesterday, my 82-year-old dad calls me, and he says he calls me twice. I ignored the first call. You should never ignore a call from an 82-year-old dad because you don't know.
Or your parents.
You know what I mean? Could be my mom saying, Dad's, gone home. I don't know. So, but I ignored that one particularly for a moment, and then he called me back like 5 minutes later. So it was really important. This was really, really important. And he says to me, "Hey, did you hear that Moulton is back on the air in Florida?" I said,
"Huh?"
"Yeah." I said, "Yeah. Why? Where did you?" He says, "I read it in the news press. I'm sitting there reading my news press here." I said, "What's the newspaper? I mean, you're actually sitting there reading a piece of paper?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm reading. There's a big article in the news press here about Miller and Moulton are back on the air, and they're back on their old station, and they're on some other state network thing. Do you want me to send it to you?" I said, "You're going to send me?" "Yeah, I'll mail it to you." He said, I'll tear this out of the newspaper, put it in an envelope, and mail it to you so you can read about Moulton being back on the air. I'm like, Daddy's on my show every week.
I'm so old that I used to mail letters, like written letters to people.
Yeah, you're real old.
I'm old. You know what I mean?
You're real old. David Moulton joins us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. David, my dad wants to tear the article out of the news press, put it in an envelope, and mail it to me in the mailbox so that I know that you're back on the air now in Southwest Florida.
Now, you may laugh and you may mock, okay, but how excited are you when you get something in the mail? I mean, it's a joke until it arrives on your kitchen table, and then you go, "Oh, look how nice this is."
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I desperately miss the newspaper. I really do. I enjoyed on Sundays. It took me a couple of years to get over it because where I live in my little town in Winchester, Tennessee, I can't even get the Tennessean out of Nashville delivered to me on Sundays. You'd think I could get a newspaper. We got one of these little local rags, and that's it. I do miss turning the pages on them, but my father gets the news, however many they do now. He gets them, and then on Sundays after church, he reads the whole week of newspapers, and then he tears out articles and he mails them to me. And so apparently it was a very nice article about you guys being back. So that's good. Well, when you're a legend, I told him, I said, you realize he's been on the air there like 23 years or something. The guy's a freaking legend. So,
Tom, I mean, I don't want to disparage your parents, But you did say, A, Dad's 84, and B, when you're 84 and you've been married to the same woman that long, there's not much to talk about. So you might as well spend a Sunday after church reading the paper.
That's exactly right. 62 years they've been married, something like that. 61,
Remarkable.
62, 63. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. All right. We just saw in 48 hours, and sometimes I don't want to make it hyperbole, but you and I are old enough to have lived through Michael Jordan and through, the Muhammad Ali at the end of his career, and we've seen greatness throughout our sporting lives. But in 48 hours, I don't know if people quite realize what we just saw out of Nick Saban and Bill Belichick. We just saw the genius of Saban and Belichick establishing, once again, the absolute best in the business since ever in those two games. You agree or disagree?
Well, I do think they're the two best to ever do it, but I do think others deserve credit. For as much grief as I think Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone have received at various times this year, they were brilliant Saturday. I mean, that was NFL caliber coaching on display. I mean, what Doug Marrone did with that offensive line in 6.5 days' time, I mean, that's why you become a head coach in the NFL, and that's why you get paid what you get paid. And Bill O'Brien, the same thing. I mean, to have no running game going up against Georgia and be trailing 10-0, and to dial up the plays that he dialed up in which guys got open. I mean, open against defenses that didn't give up squat this year.
Yeah.
And yes, there's no doubt about it. Alabama has a gifted quarterback. But, Nick, give as much credit as you want, but Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone deserve game balls.
But you know that Nick Saban's in that room with those guys. You know that he's talking about looking at it.
But he's not calling the plays. I mean, listen, Nick's inspiring them. I'm sure Nick.
He's behind the game
Marrone,
plan.
Yeah, I'm sure Nick at some point said to Doug Marrone, "Are we going to block anybody this year? Because Saturday would be a really good time." I'm sure he said something along those lines, and not that charming. But the fact of the matter is that those coaches and their units were incredible Saturday.
You can go back to the Iron Bowl and look at the second half. They did give up 7 sacks against Auburn. It's amazing, that they were able to make that and then go against what should have been even a better front seven and give up nothing. I mean, not even hits hardly. I mean, that kid they didn't even get his flag. I mean, it was ridiculous how clean he was in the pocket. But really, didn't this begin sometime in the second half against Auburn? Because I went back and looked at that and say, wait a minute, they cleaned it. They cleaned this up, at some point there, and then it just went to the next level against Georgia.
No, because with 12 minutes to go, they had a 4th down near midfield, and they fumbled the snap and got sacked. No. This started on the final drive of regulation. It did not start 3 seconds earlier than that. I mean, that 97, 98, whatever it was, that's going to go down in history with Alabama football. I mean, especially if they win 2 more games, my goodness. But just to think of where they are now, I mean, it started with that drive, which is where, by the way, the Heisman was beginning to be won.
Right. When they said that it would be then, those last couple of games were going to determine the way it would be. And that up until that drive, it was not a great game because he was constantly under stress and pressure and so on. David Moulton with us. Our colleague here, Paul Feinbaum, he said that Alabama exposed Georgia. Is that too strong to say that, well, wait a minute, let's take a step back now and look again at Georgia's schedule, who they played, a down Clemson team and so on. The only top 25 team currently on their roster was the Clemson, who climbed back into the top 25. The defensive backs, if you could hold off the front seven for more than 3 seconds, you could take advantage of those young defensive backs there of Georgia. Is exposed too strong a word for what Alabama did?
No, but Kirby at various times throughout the year said, hey, we're not as good on the back line as we were last year. I mean, we lost a first and second round pick back there. We're younger. They played a lot more zone this year than they had played in the last 3-4 years. So by Kirby's words and by their actions, Georgia told you, hey, we're not as good in the secondary as we've been lately. But what Georgia did say was, we're as good or better in the front 6 or 7 than we've ever been. And what clearly did not happen on Saturday, I mean, Georgia's D-line got destroyed by the Alabama offensive line, which, quite frankly, I don't think had destroyed a quality opponent since the Ole Miss game.
All right. Well, the Mississippi State defensive front is pretty strong, and they did really well against that defensive front. But I also thought that Alabama's defense played with a red ass. Everybody, all they talked about all year long was this Georgia and its spectacular numbers and under 7 points a game and all of that. But people forgot that Alabama's rush defense was right behind Georgia's, and it was outstanding. And if Georgia couldn't run the ball and you forced, and I think you said this last week, force this game into the hands of Stetson Bennett and see what that looks like. And that's exactly what happened. And I thought this Alabama defensive front 7 was absolutely spectacular in the game. None of those were the key to the win. I'll tell you what I thought the key to the win was. But what was your reaction to seeing the way Alabama's defensive front played, especially after it became 10-0, and then from that point on?
Well, yes, from that point on. I mean, a minute into the second quarter, Georgia's running the ball down Alabama's throat. I mean, Alabama had a decision to make. Am I going to play 4-3 or am I going to play 4-2-5? And on that touchdown drive of Georgia, they played nickel the whole drive. And Georgia ran the ball right down their throat. And on the next drive, Alabama comes out in 4-3 and says, okay, we're at least going to put this game in the hands of number 13. But what I thought, Tom, happened was it was kind of like when you played Kurt Warner's Rams teams. They put you in a spot which made their defense better. Because you look up and you're like, oh, man, they scored again. Oh, man, now we're behind. Oh, boy, now we're behind 2 scores. And Georgia is not built to be behind 2 scores, which also then, I thought Georgia should stick with the running game more. I just because they're not built to throw the ball all over the line. So even when they were behind, I felt they needed to run the ball more. Alabama's defense played really well, and I think they were 4th in the country in rush defense coming into the game.
Right.
So, it's why we thought. I mean, you asked me what was the key. I said Alabama's run defense. They got to put the ball, the game in the hands of number 13.
Yeah.
And their offense helped them put the game in the hands of number 13. And once that happened, well, it's Bryce Young against Davis Love III. We all knew what was going to happen.
And the thing that I thought, and I kept using this term all the last week, if Alabama could play a clean game, they haven't played one all year, but if they could play a clean game, meaning win the turnover battle, win the sack battle, and not have numerous tackles for losses and allow first down via penalty. They come out on the first play. What do? They get a personal foul, give 15 yards, personal foul. There you go, self-inflicted wound. There's another one. Now, they did give up 5 first downs to Georgia via penalty. But I've always had this matrix, goes all the way back to my coaching days. I had this matrix to where it was turnover margin plus sack margin. And Marv Levy was the one that told me way back in the day, he said if you're +2 in the turnover battle, you win 88% of the time. But if you add 2 more +2 into sacks and end up +4 combined sack and turnover, you win 95% of the time. Alabama was +5. They didn't have, and they were 102nd in the country in giving up tackles for losses. Last in the SEC, worse than Vanderbilt. Last in the SEC tackle for loss against Alabama. They had 2 in that game for a total of 8 yards of negative yards. They had no negative plays, David. They were +5 in sacks, and they played as perfect a game as you could play. I don't know if they can do it again, but that was as perfect as you could possibly play for an Alabama team, I think.
Well, I'll go back to O'Brien and Marrone. I mean, Alabama, Georgia threw a lot of stuff at them. Now, I didn't think they threw the sink at them the way A&M, LSU, and Auburn did. And I was a little surprised by that. I guess they were worried about putting their secondary on an island. But, I don't know. a bunch of quality recruits back there, especially once, Mechie went out of the game, and I thought, well, we might as well come after him now. And while they came after him with linebackers, I thought they never came after Bryce Young with the house,
right,
the way other teams did. But, credit Marone and O'Brien. I mean, come on, Tom. We watched this Alabama team all year. I saw them in person 5 times. They did not play that well up front in any game that I saw them. They were close in the Ole Miss game. They were. But physically, Ole Miss played a 3-2-6 defense. I mean, you looked on the field, you're like, Ole Miss can't stop this team. They just couldn't. Maybe they outscored.
Well, that's why I say the state game. The state game was their best game up until this point for the offensive line. But it was the blitz pickup.
That's a 7-5 team, though.
Right.
They've got some good defensive linemen, but, it was against a 7-5 team. But, that offensive line, which was getting humiliated the week before.
Yep.
Humiliated. There's not an Alabama fan listening who can honestly say they thought they were going to play that well. They've watched them all year. They haven't played that well for 3 minutes all year. And they played that well for 3 quarters? That was the game.
Yeah.
If I had told you going into the game, the Alabama offensive line is going to dominate the Georgia defensive line, we all would have taken out our savings and backed it up on Alabama.
Yeah, but to me, I was much more than just the line. It was the tight ends blocked for the first time in forever. They're responsible for those outside linebacker blitzes and so on. I thought the blitz pickup was phenomenal. I couldn't believe how many times, when they did send a guy, whether it was an inside linebacker or a couple times they sent the safety, where we saw Brian Robinson step up and make a block in blitz pickup. Well, those were the things you never saw during the season. They were whiffing.
No,
here they were making blocks.
And this is why, sorry, Tom, I want to give the coaches credit. Because I felt that Alabama knew exactly what Georgia was going to do. While there were long stretches of games this year, A&M, LSU, Auburn, where the coaches and the players looked as if they had no idea where they were, never mind what they were going to do. I thought, like you, Alabama had a good read on what Georgia defensively does. And there was very little that Georgia did. You saw very few guys coming unchecked at Bryce Young, whereas we had seen 80 guys coming unblocked at Bryce Young throughout the year, and I think we saw it like 3 times Saturday. So once again, I got to go back to Marone and O'Brien. They were incredible.
Yeah.
Coaching doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. Those 2 guys were NFL head coaches for a reason, and they showed it Saturday.
David Moulton with us here. All right, so on the Georgia side, we saw Pickens make a big play down the field and survive it. Now he's got another month to get even healthier. Does Kirby have the stones or something else that's going on? I know what my opinion is. I try not to, talk about a 21-year-old kid or a 20-year-old kid like this on the air, but I've said it to other people off the air. But something is going on with this JT Daniels situation. This kid's been healthy for 3 weeks at least, and Kirby's loyal to a fault to Stetson Bennett IV. But they got about 12 practices to have JT Daniels work with the ones and to have Pickens a bigger part now of the offense. Do they come out in that Orange Bowl with number 18 at quarterback and targeting number 1 quite a bit?
I think number 1 will be out there. I don't think number 18 will be out there. They seem
this
married
is a
to
big
Bennett.
problem for them. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm just saying, they seem married to Bennett. The one thing that I know that the coaches really like about Bennett is his mobility as opposed to Daniels. And I think those Michigan defensive ends and Daniels' lack of mobility will concern them. So if I had to bet as to who the quarterback would be and why, it would be Bennett. I also think this is a better matchup for Georgia. Michigan wants to power run the ball. That favors the way Georgia wants to play defense. Now, they've got a couple wideouts. They do. I mean, I can't believe Georgia's favored by 8. I got to be honest.
That's crazy.
With
Don't you feel like it looks like an inter-squad game? Don't you think that Georgia looks in the mirror and they see Michigan? I mean, I don't know how this game isn't a 2 or 3 point game. I
thought this was going to be 2.5 to 3.5. I was shocked when it opened at 7.5. Absolutely shocked. But I do think it's a better matchup for Georgia than Alabama. I do.
Yeah,
and
well,
so,
yeah.
you know, and because of it, you know, Kirby, I thought, tipped his hand after the game in which he said, 13 made some mistakes, but we put him in a spot that, you know, he's not supposed to be in.
Yeah.
So I think Kirby's going to look at it and say, hey, man, that's on us. We gave up 41. That's on us.
I'm a big fan of Aiden Hutchinson. I love his game. I love his motor. I love his backstory. It's great. I'm happy that he's going to be in New York. I don't understand why he's not holding the door open for Will Anderson, though. I mean, Will Anderson is more tackles, more sacks, more tackles for losses.
Don't hold it against Hutchinson.
No, I'm not holding against him. He should be there, but Will Anderson should be there, too.
Absolutely, he should. If ever there, listen, until Bryce Young's final drive against Auburn, you could have given this Heisman to 8 guys. You really could have. And so now, obviously, it's over. I mean, Bryce Young's won the Heisman already. I mean, Gary and Brad joked on the air, should they in the postgame just hand him it now?
Right.
Might as well.
Right.
But there's no doubt Anderson should be there, along with Hutchinson. You know, the kid that I don't think belongs is C.J. Stroud.
Agreed. Kenny Pickett, Bryce Young, and the 2 defensive ends should be there. Now, maybe part of it is, you know, Hutchinson's a senior. Will Anderson is a sophomore. I mean, Anderson and Young both come back next year. And, you know, so maybe that's part of the voting. I don't know what the voters
can't do that. I mean, you go back 20 years when they didn't give Rex Grossman the Heisman. I mean, you can go back to Herschel as a freshman. I mean, you know, you can go back to Jim Brown in '56 if you want, as to reasons why it is they didn't give certain people the Heisman or invite them or what have you. But yeah, I don't think it matters if you're a freshman or a 60-year senior anymore to me, and I hope we're beyond that.
Yeah, well, it's going to be very interesting to see how this playoff shapes up, and we got plenty of time to talk about Alabama, Cincinnati, Cincinnati's role in this whole thing, and so on. But we'll do that in the coming weeks. David Moulton has been our guest. David, I appreciate you so much. Great stuff, and we'll look forward to chatting again down the road. What's your week look like this week now? You got Army-Navy. You're going to be at Army-Navy. We'll have that game on our air, but you got Army-Navy, right? And what else you got?
Little Thursday night football, Steelers and Vikings and Army-Navy, and then, things slow down. I think one game a week, basically, for a while. But I hope everyone enjoyed this college football season, because if you go back 3 months, this was exactly what we as fans were begging for.
Right.
We were begging for some suspense. We were begging for some upsets. And even though I know Alabama was preseason 1 and they go into the playoff as 1, it was not a straight line. I think we'd all acknowledge that. A group of 5 team is in. I mean, this season was everything that I think a lot of us had hoped college football will be going forward.
And a rare time for Alabama fans, too. And I in my commentary Monday said that this was probably the most satisfying win for Alabama fans in the entire Nick Saban era. As much as it was great to see them emerge in 2009 and win that SEC title game and beat Texas in the Rose Bowl, all that kind of stuff, that's fine. But 165 games, 164 of them favored. It's always Alabama to hunted. To see an Alabama team go in, doubted, 6.5-point dogs, people saying it would be a miracle if they could figure out a way to beat Georgia, and then to do it that way, this was a very, very satisfying thing. So even for Alabama fans who were expected to be there this year, to get there this way is really fascinating.
I do think 2009 is a little above it on the food chain, but I do think that this was the best win for an Alabama fan in the last 12 years. I do think the last 2 wins in 2009 were bigger, climbing the mountain and then standing at the top of it. But 12 years later, when you had become to accept winning as almost like a rite of passage, to actually have doubt and worry and still get it done. And Tom, I know we got to go, and you could appreciate this as a Yankee fan. I don't know what you thought in the fourth quarter, but I was looking out at the field and thinking, well, where's Pedro Martinez when we need him? Because right now, Kirby just has to walk to the mic and say, what can I tell you? They're my daddy.
Eli Gold after the final whistle.
Alabama is still Alabama.
Great call. Great call by Eli. Gotta give him credit. I know haters are out there. That was a great call by Eli. That was exactly what it was.
Well, he doesn't have very many above average ones.
No.
He really doesn't. He's at the top of his game still.
Appreciate you as always, David. We'll talk next week.
Great. Take care, everyone.
All right, Matt. Thank you. David Moulton. All right, got to get out of here. The other Moulton is harassing me, and he's right. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
So close to home, just 5 miles from downtown Huntsville, Monte Sano State Park sits on over 2,000 acres with spectacular vistas from atop Monte Sano Mountain. And right now would be a great time to purchase our zone deal so you can plan your getaway and save money. Get a 2-night stay in a cabin at Monte Sano State Park for the price of just 1 night, only $140. Get your zone deal before they're gone at 977ESPN.com.
We love our pets, and when we need boarding or vet services, we want the best. That's why we chose Paradise Pet Resort and Spa. Everything our pets needed, all in one place. Boarding for both dogs and cats. Doggy daycare, grooming and spa services, web cameras, and top-notch vet care, too. It's a true Paradise Pet Resort for your furry friends, serving all of North Alabama. Find out everything you need to know and book services online at ParadisePetResortAndSpa.com. Located in Madison, just off 565 at Wall Triana, behind Cracker Barrel.
At Bryant Bank, we recognize your time is valuable, and easy, secure access to your finances is essential. That's why we provide the financial tools you need to manage your money on the go and make life a bit easier. At Bryant Bank, we're here to help with instant debit cards, Apple Pay, person-to-person payments, and more. Bryant bankers want to show you how beneficial our digital banking services can be. Learn more at bryantbank.com. Bryant Bank. Live legendary. Member FDIC.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny sky this afternoon. It is going to be on the chillier end of the spectrum. Temperatures hanging out in the upper 40s and lower 50s. An increase in cloud cover as we head into the overnight. A couple of different models are trying to bring a couple of light rain showers into the Tennessee Valley as we head into the early part of Wednesday morning. Right now, it does look like the vast majority of us would probably end up staying dry. Partly sunny sky once again for your Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures are going to begin to climb just a little bit, hanging out in the mid-50s, dropping into the upper 30s, lower 40s through the overnight. Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Want to save some money?
I can take money and I can make it into more money.
Just check out our zone deals online at 977ESPN.com. We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Welcome back, Thom Abraham Show. Coming up at the top of the hour, Scott Ramsay will join us, the Executive Director of the Nashville Sports Council. I'm always fascinated to kind of hear how the backroom dealings went, you know what I mean, with the other bowl games as they kind of whack up the teams that are going to go to the various bowl games. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to want to I can't wait to talk to him about that. We do that each and every year. And Tennessee and Purdue, it's a nice matchup. It's a nice matchup, and you wonder what the impact is of there not being a Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl last year. Remember last year the game was Missouri and somebody, and they ended up not playing the game because of COVID. So we'll talk with Scott next. Then we're open lines for the rest of the show. So Wolverine Dan, I know you've been chomping at the bit. Love to hear from you. Coming up in a little bit. We'll get you in. We'll be open lines after Scott Ramsay. It's the Thom Abraham Show right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean?
It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now, and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you, so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Hello, this is Kerry Rosenblum Realty, and we're part of that MA family. It's great to see football season back in, and we're at Rosenblum Realty trying to take care of all your real estate needs, whether home buying or selling. We'd like for you to put our 64 years of experience to work for you. We have 4-generation family ownership, and again, take a personal touch to taking care of your real estate needs. Call us at 256-539-9501 or rosenblumrealty.com.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
Good morning, I'm Doug Brown. Week 13 wraps up with one of the more unusual games in NFL history. The Patriots beat the Bills 14-11 in windy western New York. New England with only 3 pass attempts. There were only 2 touchdowns in the game, 1 for each team. Buffalo drove into the red zone twice in the fourth quarter, but came away with no points. The Warriors beat the Magic 126-95. Steph Curry now needs 16 threes to break Ray Allen's NBA record. The record for threes in a game is 14, held by his teammate Klay Thompson. The Warriors host the Trailblazers tomorrow night. UConn guard Paige Beckers will be out 6 to 8 weeks with a bone fracture just below her left knee. She got hurt walking the ball up the floor on Sunday against Notre Dame.
Football season is here.
It is in the air. It has missed it. It's good!
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You need to be more like a dog.
Like what you guys are doing. You've got your fingertip on the pulse of your listeners. You guys know what they're talking about.
Be a dog.
God bless the show. You are the Messiah.
We need more dogs.
This is the best show on radio.
The big dog, Thom Abraham, is here with you.
Hey, I see you. Hey, I see you, dog.
So settle in and get your bark on.
That's my dog.
Now live. Here he is, the big dog.
Let's go, baby!
Thom Abraham.
How you doing? 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 How you doing?
Look, I don't speak Spanish.
I don't know how to say this, so I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I think you're a psycho.
Do you know who I am?
I mean, that guy sounds like El McPherson farting into Miles Davis' trumpet.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond?
Get off my lawn.
I have to drag my Yankee ass out of here.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Thom Abraham Show. This segment brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford at Woody Anderson Ford. Well, the great pre-owned vehicles are amazing right now. The selection is tremendous, and the certified pre-owned vehicles, I bought 2 in the last 6 months. I'm just telling you. I don't just talk about these people. These are people that I've known for 15 years, and they have sponsored this show for 15 years, and we love them, and they do a great job. The service department is second to none over there at Woody Anderson Ford. So make your service appointment for Woody Anderson Ford. All right, joining us now, a guy that I've also known for a number of years now, I guess going all the way back to maybe 2007, I think, when I first met Scott Ramsay. He's the executive director of the Nashville Sports Council, and he joins us now to talk about the upcoming TransPerfect Music City Bowl, and he's on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Scott, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, great, Tom. Good to hear you. How are you?
I am fantastic. Good to talk to you once again. I guess we go back to about 07 or so. So much has happened, of course, in Nashville from a sports standpoint since that time. But a lot of people ask me a question, and I'm going to ask you. I kind of know, but I'm going to let you tell the folks, what in the hell is TransPerfect? What do they do? Who is this company? Because a lot of people aren't sure what is TransPerfect. So tell me about your sponsor.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Obviously, last year, unfortunately, we were canceled with COVID, but we started a new 6-year contract cycle with the SEC and the Big Ten. And Franklin American Mortgage, our longtime sponsor, was sold, and we transitioned to a new tile sponsor. And TransPerfect is somebody that we were really pleased in doing business with. They're investing in Nashville. They're an international company that does translation services. They do major phone banks that translate languages. They do language services for many governments across the world and a lot of Fortune 500 companies that do international business. So they're really looking to use the sponsorship for brand awareness, but also a chance to bring a lot of their customers, clients, and employees to Nashville and have a great time for 4 or 5 days centered around college football.
Are they based in Nashville? Do they have a Nashville hook to them? Or no?
They're starting a Nashville office, but their corporate headquarters have offices around the world, but mainly in New York.
You know, it's funny because in terms of translation services, now this is old school, but I'd say, I guess maybe 15 or 20 years ago, my sister and my wife did transcribing they would literally get cassettes from colleges. They had they worked for a company that had a contract with colleges, and they would get cassettes in the mail every day from lectures, and they would have to listen to the cassette and transcribe that into, and and they had some hospitals too with medical, and they would have to transcribe it into a paper file and then send it back, as a document file. And so I didn't know if these guys had something to do with something like that. And it does seem like it's certainly at the next level, but it kind of has that kind of history to it. So that's interesting.
Yeah, certainly it's moved to a much higher tech level.
Yes.
You start thinking about the series and the phone banks, if you call and buy a airline ticket and want to speak in German or Italian or something like that. And,
cool.
And certainly the international scope of businesses now. And we're seeing that in Nashville, Tom, as you know, with Amazon having a big presence, Oracle moving here, Nissan, Bridgestone, some of our international companies that are headquartered here. Great opportunity for them to come in and get to be part of the community and bring a lot of their clients with them. And we're excited about the partnership, and especially this year with the matchup we have and the date, and hopefully getting back on track after last year's cancellation.
So how many is this? I mean, isn't this like 21, 22, or I don't know, I guess, how do you count it? Do you go back to 98? You can't count last year. There was no game.
Yeah. I just say this is our 24th year. I mean, we got within 48 hours last year, so, it's our 24th year. It's obviously our 23rd game after last year's unfortunate cancellation, but 24th year, and we're planning on celebrating our 25th anniversary next year. It's hard to believe, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it is hard to believe. But that's what I was wondering, is if you would do the 25th. Now, you know what? We went through this with the Nashville Predators. Remember, because they had the season that was missed in hockey.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you count? How do you count it? So next year will be the 25th celebration of the TransPerfect Music City Bowl. And the other thing that people ask sometimes is, bowls get pigeonholed in their minds. So, and I know we talk about this every year, but this bowl game was at one point in time had a status that was at one level, and now is at a completely different status than it was when it first started. And I try to tell people that a lot of people assumed right off the bat, well, Auburn at 6-6, they're going to go to Music City. I said, no, you know what? The Music City Bowl reached a little higher than that right now. So talk about that. Explain again how you guys are in that outside. There's a New Year's 6, and then there's the next group of 6, and that's where you guys are.
Yeah, specifically to the SEC, Tom, I think that's a good point. I think there's a couple things that, sometimes, the perspective can kind of somewhat change the perception or really kind of modify the perception. And that, we negotiate contracts with the conferences in the selection process. It used to be once every 4 years. Now it's once every 6 years. So while we're technically in year 2, last year would have been year 1, of a 6-year agreement we just started, we significantly moved up. I'm going to say the Big Ten side first. So, used to be we shared the Big Ten and the ACC with the Gator Bowl, and A couple years ago, we negotiated coming into last year. We moved clear up there, right there with the Citrus Outback and us. This year we share with the Vegas Bowl, but beyond that, we'll be right in there. And the Big Ten voted to come to Nashville over some longtime destinations, one in Florida in the Gator Bowl and one in California being the Holiday Bowl in San Diego. So huge shot in the arm for us, an opportunity. The SEC's changed the process dramatically. When we started the CFP, I think the collective negotiation was really about how do we keep a lot of the cities in the SEC footprint, Tampa, Jacksonville, Nashville, Charlotte, Orlando, Houston, Memphis. How do we keep the fan experience fresh every year, unique every year? The players get some different cities, different matchups, different conferences to play. And so we're in what we call a pool, and we all move through it collaboratively. There's no real pecking order. There's no real hard, fast process. We all kind of get in there, and the schools weigh in, the conference weighs in, and we weigh in, and we try to kind of keep the teams within that footprint moving around a little bit and playing some different teams. So, this year, look back the last couple of years, we've had Kentucky, Auburn, Mississippi State. So some of those were in the pool, and you try to kind of find some different destinations, try to respect the records a little bit in the process. But we're looking forward to having Tennessee this year. It's the only third time we've had them in 24 years history. And, we're respectful of trying not to always do the local team with the big alumni base here. But this year really seemed right. First year for Coach Heupel, a regional kind of travel base where you're still feeling a lot of apprehension in the market of long-distance travel. Purdue's 5 hours up the road, so we're able to be regional and Big Ten as well and still put a great game on the field that should be very dynamic offensively.
Yeah, and Purdue has this season that they had some stunning upsets in, so they are kind of a fascinating team. They come in an 8-4 team, taking on a 7-5 Tennessee team. And I believe the last time you had Tennessee, you pulled about 68,000. You just about sold that one out, and that was Tennessee and Nebraska back then. Tennessee getting a win over a ranked Nebraska team. So I would think that after a year off, it really made a lot of sense to try and bring Tennessee in. I think the North Carolina game in 2010 had over 69,000, and that was a 2 overtime game that Tennessee lost. So certainly having Tennessee, it's got to help reestablish, of course, that here we are, and let's see it. We're not going to have 65,000 plus in the building.
Well, I think most importantly, Tom, it just really creates a great game day environment for the players. Anytime you've got a full stadium, the energy and the atmosphere is electric, and we're looking forward to that, and the players get to deserve that. And certainly from the Tennessee's perspective, you're looking from that, really a chance to kind of have their Middle Tennessee alumni base and fan base and donor base come out and enjoy the game and really kind of support the school. So I'm not sure how much everybody always went to Knoxville after last year being limited. And then this year as well. So I think it's a good opportunity. It felt like the right year, and we're excited about having the Vols this year.
Talk a little bit about the conversations that go on with the different schools, because we get, Sunday morning they gave us the college football Final Four and where those teams were going, and then it was like 2 hours later that they then announced the rest of the games and the rest of the bowl schedule come out. Now, we've seen other games. We saw that MTSU was going to the Bahamas Bowl. We knew that a week before and so on. But when does this decision actually get made? Take us behind the screen for a minute, if you will, and how you guys are making your decisions here on the matchup. When was it actually finalized?
Well, it's not actually finalized until about right then, Tom. No one knows the top 25 until it's released on ESPN. Now, this year was a little bit different for us and probably a little bit smoother than it usually is. But just because Ole Miss of where they were, Alabama and Georgia, regardless of the outcome of that game, it really felt like they were going to get 3 into the New Year's 6. And that really kind of allowed us to kind of evaluate all the options in all the bowls of where some SEC teams could go. And again, evaluate the opponents of the other side and that kind of thing, and have some discussions and be ready for the instantaneous announcement information that you've got to have ready. Typically, we'll have 2 or 3 scenarios sitting in here ready to roll out from a media standpoint on Sunday afternoon. So the top 25 is announced. The conferences start working through their process. There's no order to it. It could happen at the same time. It could be an hour apart when I get calls from either commissioner. It's a nerve, high stress kind of couple days because you've got to be ready to turnkey it immediately. And in today's world of instantaneous information and gratification, I mean, that's kind of where the pressure is, really. We usually have it narrowed down to a couple schools on either side based on some other decisions or some dominoes that could happen in the CFP level or the New Year's Six level. But, this year we felt like everyone was fairly well aligned, but it wasn't really final until Sunday afternoon.
And you got a great position, of course. You're on Thursday, December 30th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time, and that's the day is going to start North Carolina, South Carolina with the Duke's Mayo Bowl, then your game, and then the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, which is obviously a huge game. Michigan State and Pitt playing in that one after you, and then Wisconsin, Arizona State, and the Las Vegas Bowl. So it's kind of like the kickoff of the whole big weekend. Not to take anything away from the games that'll be earlier in that week,
right.
But that Thursday, that includes the TransPerfect Music City Bowl, followed by the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and then rolling into Friday with the national semifinal games and so on. That's kind of the kickoff of the whole bowl weekend, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, we really like the 30th for a couple of reasons, Tom. I think several years ago that turned into the date that as long as it didn't conflict with the Titans game, was one that we were really going to pursue for a couple of reasons. One, from a city standpoint, and the reason really we do the bowl is really to kind of showcase the city, bring a lot of folks here, really utilize the city asset in Nissan Stadium. But more importantly now, since we've added the New Year's Eve concert that's grown to be so huge, it allows us organizationally, police, metro, city services, logistics, hotel rooms, to kind of be able to lead into that. Some people stay, and if they don't, they turn over a lot of that infrastructure to the 31st. So we're able to kind of marry those two events up and extend the week from a business standpoint in the city.
New Year's Eve on Friday. Saturday, everybody stays in the hotel, watches the national semifinal games, and then the Dolphins in town to take on the Titans on Sunday. And what could be a really big game for both teams, really. And, so there's a lot going on around that. I mean, this is to make a 3 or 4 day event out of this deal.
It is. And, I think that's the beauty of Nashville and really the beauty of having the SEC and the Big Ten of the game. I think the accessibility to fans to be able to come and spend 3 or 4 days here. And, if you want to spend Christmas and New Year's at home, you can. If you want to come early or stay late, you can. And, I think we've really tried to not be anybody we're not from that standpoint. We're regionally accessible. We really kind of try to fit into that 3 to 4 day kind of window, and it's been very well received with fans on both sides.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Now, I had some people ask me, too, about whether or not the coaches' luncheon will ever come back. Not having it this year, is that something that could reemerge for the 25th anniversary, or is that something that's gone now?
Yeah, possibly. It was one of those events, Tom, that quite honestly the players and the teams to fit in when we did wasn't how can I say this? Probably wasn't their favorite hour and a half sitting at a table eating,
right.
Eating a nice lunch for for their week. As we all know, we probably wouldn't have enjoyed that at age 20 either, Tom. But so this year we're going to try kind of moving some things around and doing some things differently. We added additional kind of player event there, and the fans. I think Broadway and downtown can really carry that. We saw Battle of the Bands. So we're going to kind of see how this year's schedule goes, and then we'll sit down and kind of evaluate it and see what's good for next year and moving forward.
Got to take those kids to the Opry, man. They got to have a night at the Grand Ole Opry. Have a big, one of those nights. Now, how early do they come in? If the game is on Thursday, is it still a whole week that they come into town, or do they come in now a lot closer to game day?
That's a school by school decision. I think Purdue's coming in tonight for their site visit, so where they'll go through the hotel and their meeting rooms and their coaching rooms, their practice sites, their scheduling. And then they'll go back and make that decision of when they want to come in. Tennessee then comes in, I believe, on Thursday, does the same thing. So we'll probably know. But I would say most years, Tom, teams will come in the 26th or 7th, right after Christmas. We started an event with them on the evening of the 27th. So we asked that they be in at least by that afternoon.
Yeah. All right, it's Tennessee and Purdue. We have some tickets we're going to give away. How do people get tickets? What's the best way to get to buy tickets for this game? Because this is a great opportunity, especially for the Tennessee fans in the region. I've already heard from some Purdue people, but the Tennessee fans in the region to be able to see the team a lot closer than normal, and in a stadium that's a little bit more cozy, if you will, than Neyland Stadium.
It sure is, and tickets are going quick, but MusicCityBowl.com's got all the information on it, and we really expect a great crowd, so look forward to having both Purdue and Tennessee fans roll in here and spend a few days with us.
Nice, good stuff. All right, always appreciate you, Scott. Good to catch up, man.
Thanks, Tom. Good to hear from you. Hope all is well.
Thank you. You too. Scott Ramsay, Executive Director of the Nashville Sports Council. Good guy, real good guy. I've known him a long time. All right, let's get a break. When we come back, we go open lines now the rest of the way. 256-5764-9777. 256-5764-9777 on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
AVIQ. Who is AVIQ? AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing, helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourselfer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit aviqhsv.com.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Want to try something different for breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Then why not head on over to City Cafe Diner? They have the largest menu in the area with traditional breakfast like pancakes and omelets, comfort foods like burgers and shakes, and specialty items like homemade Greek delicacies. And their entire menu is served any time of day. So make plans to dine with City Cafe Diner today, just west of the Parkway at 2003 Drake Avenue. City Cafe Diner, where no one leaves hungry.
Valley Equipment Rental. Pretty self-explanatory name, no? Thom Abraham here. And look, Valley Equipment Rental is all over the Tennessee Valley. And they rent equipment. All kinds of equipment. And not just to the contractors out there, but to you, the general public as well. Need a skid steer or an excavator? Well, they've got over 40 units to make sure they've got one for you. From huge boom lifts to miscellaneous hand tools, it's at Valley Equipment Rental on the South Parkway. And soon, they'll have a second location to handle even more equipment. More on that to come.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, more of the Thom Abraham Show on your home for Crimson Tide Sports 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
Segment of the Thom Abraham Show brought to you by Valley Equipment Rental. Sounds so simple, but it's so descriptive. It's the Tennessee Valley. You need equipment, they rent it. All over the valley. But, dog, how am I supposed to get that little excavator over to my property where I wanted to dig that trench? Well, you don't have a truck, you don't have a trailer. That's all right, they deliver. They deliver. Oh, I have a truck. Okay. Well, you can come and hook up to one of our trailers, and we'll deliver it for you, and you can take it. Well, I have a trailer. Well, that's okay. Then bring your trailer with you behind your truck. They're going to inspect it, make sure it's safe, put the equipment on it, and away you go. I mean, it's that simple. It doesn't matter. Tools big and small. Valley Equipment Rental has you covered. And work beginning soon on their new location. If it hasn't started started already, I don't know. I may go by that site today. Ross Roberts and his crew building a second location now out on the North Memorial Parkway out by Winchester Road out there, where it's going to accommodate bigger equipment, larger excavators and dozers and things like that. Valley Equipment Rental. They just cover the whole valley, the whole area. Yeah, but I'm in Fayetteville. Is that okay? Yes. Yeah, they take care of you too. Valley Equipment Rental. All right. Phone lines are open. 256-576-4977. Get to those here in just 1 second. Let me just say this. I don't want to forget it. Alabama sweeping the SEC Player of the Week and Freshman of the Week off of their win against Gonzaga. It was not a good day to be a Bulldog on Sunday, apparently, or Saturday. Jaden Shackelford had a career night in that game. He had 28 points, career high. He had 9 rebounds in the win. He was 10 of 16 from the field, 6 of 8 from behind the arc. He was 6 of 7 in threes in the first half of the game. Tide led that thing by 15 at the half. It was Gonzaga's largest halftime deficit since they trailed by 17 to Memphis back in 2009. And then J.D. Davison was the freshman of the week. And he obviously was very involved in that game as well. He had a season-best 20 points, which I guess would be his career best, 5 rebounds, 3 assists in the win, and 6 of 10 from the field and 4 of 6 from three-point range. So tremendous job by those guys. Congratulations. All right, and by the way, the Tide now are the highest-ranked SEC team. I think they're number 12. Am I lying, Grizz? I think the Tide moved up to number 12 in the rankings. And the SEC, 9. Am I lying?
No, it's 9. It's 9.
9. They're number 9 in the rankings. So the SEC, Alabama's 9, Kentucky 10, Arkansas 12, Tennessee 13, Auburn 18, Florida 20, LSU 25. So there you go. 7 teams out of the SEC in the top 25 in basketball. Top of the list, by the way, is Purdue, Baylor, Duke, UCLA. All right, let's go to the lines with Wolverine Dan. Wolverine Dan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, I got a lot to touch on. You really got me festering, brother. Hey, let's do it. First off, let's just talk about what you talked about. How many teams in the Big Ten are in the 25?
Let's see. Teams in the Big Ten in the 25. Baylor is 1.
Come on.
Michigan State.
Oh,
Michigan State is number 19. And Ohio State's number 21, Wisconsin 22. So you got 1, 2, 3. And Purdue is number 1. So there's
Michigan's in the top 25. What are you talking about?
Michigan is. Am I missing? No, they're not. Michigan is no longer in the top 25. Am I lying? No, Michigan's not even. They're not even close. They're not even in the top 30. I'm looking at them right now where Michigan is. Yeah, they fell. Yeah, they fell way out of it. But you got 4 teams in the top 25.
Okay, all right. So let's touch your thing about that. Let's talk about my defensive end opening the door for your player.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Let me explain something to you. Okay. First off, is this. That's the curse of Alabama. They're supposed to be recruiting all these 5 stars and the greatest players in the United States of America.
Right.
And that's your curse. And that's why they don't want to put 2 in there. But let me finish this. Your quarterback means everything to your team. Because that quarterback won the last game against Georgia. Right. Our defensive end means everything to our team. It's the most valuable player on your team. And Hutchinson is the most valuable player. And I'd probably go Hassan Hopkins probably underneath him. That's why
on the team, yes. But the question is simple. The question is simple. And I believe Aiden Hutchinson should be there. What I'm saying is that if Aiden Hutchinson is there, the guy who has less tackles than Will Anderson, less sacks than Will Anderson, and less tackles for loss than Will Anderson, how in the hell is Will Anderson not there with him? That's what I'm saying. Aiden Hutchinson should be there, open the door, and let Will Anderson in too. Because those two guys, you think that quarterback from Ohio State, C.J. Stroud, is better than Will Anderson or Aiden Hutchinson? No. So that's all I'm saying is that you can't have one without the other.
I agree with you. That quarterback Ohio State sucks, and they suck, all right? But the bottom line is this. I believe my defensive end for my team is the catalyst to us winning our games at the end of the year and being more improved.
Well, he may be. Yeah, he may be the MVP of your team. There's no doubt. But I don't even – he probably – I'd say that Aiden Hutchinson is the MVP of Michigan. I'm not sure that Will Anderson isn't the best. Now, the quarterback, obviously, Bryce Young, is the man to make that, he's the one that makes it happen. But it doesn't mean that Will Anderson, as a player, isn't every bit as good as Aiden Hutchinson as a player.
Okay. So let's move on to something other real quick, okay, as far as the bowl game we're playing, okay?
Yeah.
Here's the deal. McNamara is probably nowhere near as good as the Alabama quarterback. I'll give you that. I understand that. Yeah. But actually, Tom, McNamara is better than he was since the beginning of the year. And he's been improved. He's an improved quarterback. Now,
you hated him. Remember, you hated him at the beginning. You were like, get him out of there. Yeah, you didn't like him.
I did, because he wasn't that good, okay? And his decisions were bad. He never read off after his first read. He didn't go to his second and thirds like he should have. Yes, I agree. But now he's a much improved quarterback. But I think that the SEC doesn't realize how fast this Michigan team is. I think defensively we're extremely fast. We put pressure on the quarterback, and they're not going to see pressure. Georgia, I don't care how big they are. That was part of their problem. They were too big and not fast. We're tooled right now as a fast, like a SC team that's fast. And I think it's going to open eyes and surprise Georgia big time. And we'll see what happens, okay? We're not just this clumsy, the Big Ten team. I don't see us that at all the way we're playing, Tom. We're playing a lot like an SEC team when it comes to defense.
I think when you're Georgia and you look in the mirror, you see Michigan. I do believe that. I think that Georgia and Michigan are very, very similar teams, and I don't think that Georgia's very dynamic offensively. So I think this game sets up as a bit of a slobber knocker. I think this is two teams that want to run the ball first and play great defense, and I think it's going to be a close game. I don't understand the line being 7.5, 8 points.
I'm excited about that. I think this is probably the better of the two games. But let me touch on this real quick, okay? So I'm a homer. You know it. Everybody knows it. All right? But there's one thing I don't do. Get on the radio and other programs that I hear these other there's two guys in general I'm speaking of. One is Larry and the other one's Legend. And you know what I'm talking, what show. Yeah. And they get on there and they say, kiss the ring. I ain't kissing your ring. Why don't you kiss my butt?
Yeah, but we'll see.
Don't do that.
No, yeah. We'll see how it works out when it's over with. But it is definitely the better game. It's why it's the night game, the primetime game, and it's why it got Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. It got the A team. You realize that the Alabama Cincinnati game is the biggest spread of all the bowl games. Well, that's crazy. I mean it's like they're saying it's the least close game of all of the games.
It probably is. But this is what I'm saying is this. Bama's been there for all these years. This is an incredible run. He's an unbelievably really good coach. And we all speaking of Nick Saban and everything. You don't have to throw and kiss the ring. You say that to me in front of my face, we're going to have some issues because I ain't kissing. The only ring I'm going to kiss is the guy way up in heaven. I'll kiss his feet all day long. All right, but I'll be damned if I kiss some guy that.
Well, who told you to kiss the ring? Badger Larry didn't tell you to kiss the ring.
No, it's Legend, the guy in the other show, the little guy show. He calls in, kiss the ring, and and the one guy's Larry Bud Light. He drinks. He drinks more than I do.
I don't know. I don't.
Those are just characters. Come on now, Dan. You can't be offended by characters on Paul Feinbaum show.
Oh, on Feinbaum show? Is that where they're from? For the little bald guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, little bald guy.
Yeah, don't worry about those guys. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. All right. Anyway, I got my blood boiling here. I'm going to go work out, dude.
Go lift some weights.
One more thing. Yeah. One more thing. I don't have any putty inside the house because I'm taking a bunch of pictures down. Did you know? I don't know if I'll give you a little construction tip. You can use toothpaste to plug your holes.
No, I would use spackle. You're saying toothpaste?
Yeah, I don't have spackle with me. It's at my other place. Well, my place here where I'm selling, I put toothpaste in the holes, and it works just the same way, Tom.
Well, let's not tell people that because somebody comes and look at your house, they're going to say, "Oh, it's toothpaste." It probably smells nice.
They're going to see it. I'm painting over it. What are you talking about?
And it doesn't just come out when you paint over the toothpaste?
No.
I didn't know that. I got to tell my wife that. She's doing some caulking and she's been painting with oil base. Oh my God, the whole house stunk last night. She's painting with oil based paint around the house. Yeah.
Oil base is for outside, not inside.
That's the trim. Our trim is all oil based. House 100 years old. It's got that oil based trim. Yeah, I know it's bad though. It smelled bad in here in the house. Yeah.
Anyway, I just give you a little heads up. All right, I love you like a brother, and I shouldn't take it serious, but that guy's a knucklehead.
I'm pulling for you, man. I'm pulling for Michigan in that game. I'll tell you that right now. I am pulling for Michigan.
You know
in that
what?
game.
They'd make a whole lot. I think they'd make a whole. Either way, the national championship with Michigan, Alabama, because it's going to be Alabama. I don't think Cincinnati has it, or Georgia. Either one of the two, it's going to be some serious numbers.
I would think.
All right.
All right, man. Appreciate you. The Michigan Hour continues. Keith, the Michigan fan. Keith, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing all right, big dog. Hey, if Wolverine Dan take over your show, if you give him 2 hours, gonna show up there too.
Oh, no doubt. No. And by the way, for those of you that missed that, I'm going to confirm this today. I don't know that I got to really get permission for it, but I probably should anyway.
Maybe.
But I have committed to Wolverine Dan that if Michigan, not if they beat Georgia, but if Michigan wins the national championship, I'm going to let him host my show for a day. He's going to host my show for a day if Michigan wins and he can invite all you Michigan people to come with him and talk about Michigan.
Okay, now I got a question for you. When did the Heisman stop giving the award to freshmen? Because I remember as a freshman, you used to not be able to get it.
Well, still don't know. Has a true freshman ever won a Heisman? I don't know that a true freshman has won it yet. I don't believe so. But yeah, there used to be. Well, Keith, you and I are old enough to remember when freshmen weren't allowed to play in the varsity. Remember? I mean, they didn't even play on the varsity.
Right.
So, and they all played as seniors. Now nobody who's a Heisman Trophy kind of guy. It's usually a sophomore, at worst a junior. Very, very rarely does a senior win it because the players that are great players are off to the NFL before their senior year. Right. Yeah. That's why everybody thought that when Tebow came back for his senior year and when Peyton Manning came back for his senior year, they were going to win the Heisman. Tebow ended up fifth his senior year. He won it when he was a sophomore and ended up fifth his senior year.
Was Manziel not a Heisman or a freshman?
Who?
Manziel not a freshman?
Johnny Manziel was. He might have been a redshirt freshman. He was not a true freshman.
Okay.
I was just curious because I remember that as a freshman you could not win the Heisman, and now, and with Alabama's quarterback being a freshman, it's like
he's a sophomore.
How's he eligible?
No, he's a sophomore. Yeah, he played last year. He played in a half a dozen games last year. He's a sophomore.
Oh, okay,
he didn't start, but yeah.
Well, that was my question. Thanks.
There you go. All right. No, he is not a freshman. He feels like a freshman because nobody really saw him much last year, but he played in mop-up duty last year. So, Grizz, what's the research department saying? Has a freshman? I don't think a true freshman's ever won it. I think Manziel might have been a what do you call it? A redshirt freshman when he won it. I don't think a true freshman has ever won it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I see.
I don't think so. Well, let me talk to Brandon. He knows everything. Brandon, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi.
Wow. Dang. Johnny Manziel was the first freshman to win the Heisman in 2012. The following year, at 19 years, 342 days old, freshman Florida State quarterback Jameis Winston became the youngest Heisman Trophy winner at that time as a freshman. Was he a true freshman? 2 sophomores and 2 redshirt freshmen won the Heisman. Yeah, not a true freshman. I don't think a true freshman has ever won the Heisman. I'm going to call Boulderdash on that. A true freshman has never won the Heisman. I don't call a guy that is Johnny Manziel and Jameis Winston true freshmen. Those are redshirt freshmen, which, as we call them now, sophomores. Because now you can play 4 games. All right, Brandon's back. Brandon, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hanging in there. I didn't know if Jeff and the Russians had hacked the phone system or something.
Yeah, no, they next thing you know, we went to you. We heard
squirrels.
like one syllable, and boom, we had a dial tone. I haven't heard a dial tone in forever. Can't remember the last time I heard a dial tone.
Squirrels in the attic.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to call you and was getting ready to leave the Love's truck station here, and somebody came barreling through the parking lot and ran into the McDonald's that's part of the building. They mowed down the sign and hit another car, and
oh my!
Somebody got out of the car and ran. It was something to behold. And then after it all stopped, I was sitting there thinking, I didn't even think to get my phone out.
You don't know if anybody's hurt or anything, do you?
No, everybody appears to be okay.
Right.
There's a lot of state patrol here, which just right down the road the other day, somebody hit with a huge tractor. They hit a bridge and took a bridge out on the interstate, like Georgia needs another bridge down.
Some excitement in what is that, Rome or something like that you're at? Rome, Georgia?
I'm above Cartersville, right here around White, Georgia.
Okay.
for today anyway.
Yeah.
Got up this morning and could not figure out if somebody had vandalized all of our Christmas lights, because I'd put a lot of work into that for the wife. And couldn't figure out the password to the DVR to take a look at it. And me and Drew were laughing, and he said, "Did you ever vandalize any Christmas lights?" I said, "No, I didn't vandalize them, but I'm old enough that we had Christmas lights in the 80s where if one went out, they all went out."
Right.
So we would walk around and just unscrew a couple bulbs just enough to where they would go out.
Now, why would you do that to people?
Well, we had some cranky neighbors that were like a pain in the butt, so we would do that to mess with them. And then I was sitting there and I was like, "Oh, well, karma." I was like, "Karma came back, so I'm not going to be mad." So
yeah,
I went out there and set all of it up. And then my wife walks out in the yard and she says, "So who's in the Bahamas Bowl this year?" And I told her, I said, "The Bahamas Bowl is a bottom feeder bowl. It's a great destination, but you're like Western Kentucky, Southwest Missouri State." I was like, nobody big goes to the Bahamas Bowl.
But it's a great bowl to go to. I mean, you got to admit, it is a great bowl. I mean, for the kids, it's played in like a high school stadium, too. It's played in a soccer stadium or a high school stadium, something like that. Now, did you tell her it's Middle Tennessee and Toledo?
No, I did not. I wasn't sure who was in it.
Middle Tennessee and Toledo. The game starts in about 20 minutes. No, there's two games. It's Friday. It's Friday, December 17th is the game. So so it's the Bahamas Bowl, Middle Tennessee and Toledo, to be followed by the Cure Bowl, which is Coastal Carolina and Northern Illinois.
Well, I had said something about us going to the Cotton Bowl, working on tickets for that now, and I told her, I said, if we go early, we can go to the First Responders Bowl. We can see the Air Force Bowl game and the Alabama game. And she said, "Can we afford both of those?" I was like, the tickets to the Air Force Bowl game are going to be like $25.
That's at a different stadium too, though, right? Where is that? That's at some I forget what stadium.
Don't know.
I'll tell you what it is. It's at. I've got my list here. That is at the. Boy, you'd have to go really early. When is the First Responders Bowl? Fenway.
28th, I believe.
28th, you think it is? Oh, it is early. Yeah, the First Responders Bowl, Air Force in Louisville, ServPro First Responder Bowl. Oh, I don't have the list of the stadiums. It's not at the big stadium. It's at
Gerald Ford.
It's at Gerald Ford Stadium?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. Is that in
I
Dallas?
don't even know what that is either.
Where is that, Grizz? Is it Gerald Ford Stadium? See what that is.
It's in Dallas.
It's in Dallas? Is that like where the Cowboys practice or something? It's not at the Star where they practice. I don't know where that is. That's where they have the high school games a lot of times there.
Well, crap, I was thinking
SMU Stadium.
Oh, it's SMU Stadium. There you go. That's a nice stadium. It's a nice stadium.
Is it open air?
Yeah,
Yep.
Outdoor stadium.
Okay, well, that'd be nice then. I was thinking about that bowl. I told my wife, I said, those tickets were so cheap to the Air Force Bowl. I was like, we might get a suite.
Yeah.
Be really nice. I hit you with a tweet a minute ago and hit a bunch of bigger people with it, and I'm hoping you'll retweet it. I want to hear from some of these coaches and people, because if you could have Will Anderson or any other linebacker in the country, I'd be willing to say that 75% of people will take Will Anderson, no questions asked.
Or any other defensive player. Any other defensive player. You could say any defensive player in the country right now, who would you take? Would be Will Anderson.
I think so, too. I don't think the Hutchinson guy is a bad player. I think that he is the best in his conference, and I don't have a problem with him being at the Heisman. I just have a problem with Will not being there, because I do think that they don't want to make it an Alabama show, and I can't help but wonder if it's purposeful. And I'm hoping that when you talk to some of your Heisman voters, ask them, say, did you vote for Will Anderson at all, and where did you vote him and why? I would love to hear some of them explain to me why he didn't muster enough votes to at least get an invite when C.J. Stroud did.
Yeah, apparently these are the top 4 vote getters, and a lot of this has to do with regional bias and regional things. I mean, you got 2 Big Ten guys. You've got a ACC guy in Kenny Pickett, and then you've got the winner out of the SEC, which is Bryce Young. I just wonder how many people in the SEC did not want to, or people that were Alabama types that did not want to vote for Will Anderson to take votes or take points away from Bryce Young. I don't know. I mean, Grizz, Scott, and Moulton are voters. Did they say who they voted for? Did Moulton not put Scott?
Moulton's not allowed. He's telling me he's not allowed.
No, they're not allowed to reveal it yet?
They're not allowed to reveal it.
But they can after. I mean, they get revealed afterwards.
Well, I guess afterwards.
Yeah.
If you vote like 1, 2, 3, 4, correct? So you get a first place vote, a second place, or I mean, I'm not even going to say that I know how it works.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I don't know if it's 1, 2. Ask Moulton if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, or how many names do you put on the ballot? Can he say that? He can say that.
He didn't hear you.
How many names do you put on the ballot, Moulton? Do you get to put 3, 4, 10?
3.
3. Yeah, you vote 1, 2, 3. So I thought it was.
1, 2, 3. Well, I think that Bryce Young wins it in the biggest landslide in modern history, probably even far and above what Derrick Henry got.
It depends on when people voted. Some people vote early, and I think that's why you see some guys there that are there. I think if they all waited until after the SEC championship game to vote, yes, you're right. But you got to understand, voting has been open for a couple of weeks. There's two things you got to understand. 1
week.
It was open before, well, it's a couple of weeks now. It was before the championship games. It came out before the championship games, the voting. So the voting's been open before the championship game. And then the other thing you got to understand is, Moulton and Scott Tyson notwithstanding, there are a lot of people that got Heisman Trophy votes that don't know if the ball's blown up or stuffed. I'm just going to tell you. I mean, there are a lot of idiots that are voting for the Heisman Trophy. Okay, so they don't, and this is not about the best football player in the country. Can we agree on that? This is not this year, maybe. This is not about the best football player in the country, because you cannot tell me in the entire history of the Heisman Trophy that an offensive lineman or a defensive player has not been the best player in the Heisman Trophy. In the year Woodson won it, he won it because he ran some routes as a wide receiver and was a punt returner too. We've never had a pure defensive player, Aiden Hutchinson, a Will Anderson, and Ndamukong Suh. We've never had a pure defensive player win this thing. And you cannot tell me in the history there's never been a defensive player that was the best player in the country.
That's why I think that the voters for the Heisman, just like the voters for the Hall of Fame, at least 50% of the voters need to be former players, if not first team, second team, third team All-Americans, Hall of Famers. I don't think that the media should ever make up more than 50% of the voters. And as the attrition rate where people either die or they resign their vote, I think it should go to people that played until they get to at least a 50%.
Well, you got to be careful with that. Because you got to be careful with that. Now, all the Heisman winners vote, but you got to be careful with that too, because a lot of those guys aren't following the games. I don't have a problem if it's media that understand what the hell is going on and that are watching a lot of games. But if you're a broadcaster, or if you are a coach, or if you are a player, there's all that bias in terms of you're going to vote for the guy from your school, or you don't watch a lot of games. Who knows? I mean, there should be some sort of qualification, I would think. But anyway.
I agree, because you see people like Joel Klatt and Colin Cowherd. I mean, they're almost doing backflips and losing their mind the minute they think anything bad happens to Alabama. So you know they don't give them a fair shake when it comes to it. But then you take a look at guys like Trevor Maddich, and I'm a Trevor Maddich fan. I believe he's as objective as the day, as long as he doesn't care whether it's a team he likes or whether he doesn't. I think he's going to vote right down the middle. And I trust people like him because he has played the game, and Colin Cowherd would know a first down from a get down. I don't think so.
Yeah. And I don't think they should have called Brandon. I appreciate it. I got to get the break in here. I don't think Colin Cowherd's a voter, to be honest with you. I don't think he's a Heisman voter. All right, let's get a break. We'll come back and wrap it up next right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of no knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
I'm Chris Haygood at Bob Wallace Appliance.
Hey, Dad, if someone gets an appliance for Christmas, how will Santa get it down the chimney?
Magic.
Madeline, part of the magic of the season is our chance to get together again. More often than not, those gatherings will be in the kitchen. Look for holiday savings on the best brands you already know and trust, like Whirlpool, KitchenAid, and Maytag.
Santa's going to need some help delivering those.
That's what we're here for.
Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman.
Bob Wallace Appliance.
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Take your taste buds back in time with a trip to the all-new Bubby's Diner, offering a variety of mouth-watering food from delicious starters to 50s-style diner food and meat and 3 meals, featuring owner and Huntsville native Chris Bubby Belcher's family's homemade recipes. Open Monday through Saturday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at 8412 Whitesburg Drive in the former Gibson's Barbecue. Drive-in, drive-through, carry-out, or curbside pickup with delivery coming soon through Grub South. Bubby's Diner, home of the Donut Burger.
People stay just a little bit longer.
And one good thing about Heisman voters is at least I believe they got to be nominated, there's a committee involved. There's like a chairman. They have a certain number of guys in each, they try to make it even throughout the country. There's about 870 media members that are Heisman voters, and when a spot opens up, they'll ask, and they do some due diligence, about it. But there are certain guys that are much more qualified to do it than others. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's the same thing with the Hall of Fame voting, and it's just what you deal with. They try to come up with a field of 870 or so voters spread into the 4 regions of the country that have a pretty good idea what's going on. I think guys like our guys are better because they are able to digest and watch all. I don't like when a broadcaster of a particular team or something like that is a voter, because you're focused pretty much on just the team that you're covering and so on, and you don't have that ability as much to cover a lot of stuff. Like when you get a guy like Moulton or a guy like Tyson nominated and they become a Heisman voter, at least they're able to look at everything. Now, do they have SEC bias? Well, Moulton might, and I don't blame them. I mean, you have to have that. That's part of the reason they have guys in all parts of the country. Tyson doesn't have SEC bias. He's a Big Ten guy, for God's sakes. So I don't think
he has eyeballs.
Yes, but he's smart. You know what I mean? He's smart. You know what I mean? If you're smart and you know what you're – but these guys like that, have the ability to kind of look at the whole picture and look at it all. The problem with guys like me would be I would vote for a left tackle sometimes. I would vote for a
They'd want to get rid of you after a couple
they would
years.
want to get rid of me because I'm not voting
this guy's
for
putting
just
centers out here. What are you doing, man?
Not necessarily a center. But I would vote for, the center's never the best player in the country. But there are many years when a tackle is the best player in the country.
I'll say that to Wes.
There are many years when a defensive end or an inside linebacker or an outside linebacker or a DB is the best player in the country, best football player in the country. We have awards for quarterback, and we have awards for every position. The Heisman has become that, really. Kind of like a quarterback award or once in a while a wide receiver, running back. It's a skill position award. All right, coming up next, Chuck Oliver, Paul Feinbaum, and in the drive on location out at the Furniture Factory. All right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Orange is the color of power, of construction, the color of Kubota, and Huntsville Tractor and Equipment. Those who need to get things done trust Kubota's mini excavators, compact track loaders, and the best keeps getting better with the all-new mini